In December 2005, Microsoft cooperated with Chinese authorities to shut down the controversial blog of Zhao Jing, Michael Anti, a Beijing-based researcher for the New York Times and an active critic of censorship in China. The blog, which was hosted on servers located in the United States, was removed and was therefore censored not only in China, but globally. Reacting to criticism, Microsoft claims to have implemented a new set of standards to ensure that they will only remove blogs when they receive formal legal notice from the Chinese government and that access will only be denied to users in China. Microsoft's search engine, MSN China, filters the results of searches for politically sensitive terms, displaying a message in Chinese which states, certain content was removed from the results of this search. Searches undertaken in June 2006 by Amnesty International produced this message for the words Falun Gong, Tibetan independence, and June 4, the date of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Furthermore, Microsoft has admitted that it responds to directions from the Chinese government by restricting users of MSN Spaces from using certain terms in their account name, space subtitle, or in photo captions. At the same time, the company asserts that MSN Spaces do not filter blog content in any way. Amnesty International considers this to be at odds with the facts. When Microsoft launched MSN Spaces in China in 2005, attempts to create blogs with words including democracy, human rights, and freedom of expression were blocked, producing the following error message in Chinese. You must enter a title for your space. The title must not contain prohibited language, such as profanity. Please type a different title. Tests by Amnesty International carried out in 2006 demonstrated continued blocking of certain terms, including Tiananmen incident, in the title of blogs. As a result of such actions, Microsoft users in China are denied the ability to access the full range of information available internationally on human rights topics, including websites and web pages of Amnesty International and other human rights organizations. To learn more, go to Amnesty International, www.amnesty.org. Hello, and welcome to the mini story for the Microsoft censorship lesson. Here we go. John was next to a river. He was using a pan to filter the small rocks in the bottom of the river. He hoped to find gold. Suddenly, he looked down and said, "Oh my God!" He found a huge piece of gold. He ran to town and told Bob, his best friend, about the incident. He said, "Bob, don't tell anyone. I need to censor this information so that no one will steal my spot by the river." Bob smiled and said, "Okay, I won't tell anyone." But his words were at odds with his actions because he soon told everyone in town about John's gold. So, when John returned to his river spot, he found 10,000 people there. They were all filtering the river, looking for gold. John went crazy and attacked them. He was so angry, he massacred everyone. Only one person lived. It was Bob. Bob cried and said, "Please don't kill me, John. I'm sorry. Please." John calmed himself and said, "Okay, I will give you amnesty, but only if you leave America and never come back." Bob said, "Okay, I'll go now. Thank you." This time, his words were not at odds with his actions. He left America and never came back. Okay, one more time with some questions. Let's do it again. John was next to a river. He was using a pan to filter the small rocks in the river. Was he using a bowl to filter the river? No, he wasn't using a bowl. He was using a pan to filter the river. Was he using a cup to filter the river? No, he was not using a cup to filter the river. He was using a pan to filter the river. Was he using a pan to drink from the river? No, he wasn't drinking from the river. He was filtering the river. He was trying to separate the very small rocks from the large rocks. He was trying to separate gold from rocks. Did he filter the river successfully? Well, yes, he did. He finally did filter the river successfully. He separated all the rocks, and he finally found a piece of gold. Okay, he hoped to find gold, and suddenly he looked down, and he did find a huge piece of gold. After he filtered out the gold, he separated the gold from the rocks and from the water, he ran to town. He told his best friend, Bob, about the incident. Did he tell his friend Jim about the incident? No, he didn't tell Jim about the incident. He only told Bob about the incident. Did he tell his wife about the incident? No, John's not married. He didn't tell his wife about the incident. Who did he tell about the incident? He told Bob about the incident. He told his best friend about the incident, about the experience, about what happened. He said, Bob, don't tell anyone. I need to censor this information so no one steals my spot by the river. Did he want Bob to censor the information? Yes, that's right. He wanted Bob to censor the information, not tell anyone about the information. Prevent other people from knowing about the information. He wanted Bob to censor the information. Did he want Jim to censor the information? No, his friend Jim didn't know about it at all. You can't censor something if you don't already know about it. So he wanted Bob to censor this information. What information did he want him to censor? Well, he wanted him to censor the information that he found gold by the river. Why did he want to censor this information? He wanted to censor the information so other people would not go back to the same spot and take more gold. That's why he wanted to censor the information. He wanted the spot, he wanted the gold only for himself. So he wanted to censor this information. Did Bob censor the information? No, Bob did not censor the information. Bob told everybody. Bob smiled and said, okay, I won't tell anyone. But his words were at odds with his actions. Did his words agree with his actions? No, they were at odds with his actions. They were not the same. His words and his actions were different. His words were at odds with his actions. Were his words at odds with his feelings? Well, we don't know. We don't know what his feelings were, but we do know his words were at odds with his actions. They did not agree with his actions. Whose words were at odds with his actions? Were John's words at odds with his actions? No, not John's words. Bob's words were at odds with his actions because he soon told everyone about John's gold, even though he promised he would not. So, when John returned to his river spot, he found 10,000 people there. They were all filtering the river looking for gold. Were they all swimming in the river? No, they were all filtering the river. Were they filtering the ground? No, they weren't filtering the ground. They weren't separating pieces of the ground. They were filtering the river. They were filtering the river water and the river rocks, separating them, looking for gold. John went crazy and attacked them. He was so angry, he massacred everyone. Did he kill everyone? Yes, he did. He killed them all. Did these people have guns? Well, we don't know, but probably not, because he massacred them. He killed them all. If you massacre somebody, usually it means if you massacre many people, usually they are weak or peaceful. So he massacred all of them. He killed all of them. Did Bob massacre everybody? No. No, not Bob. John massacred everyone. Who did John massacre? Well, John massacred all the people looking for gold. How many people did John massacre? Well, actually, he massacred 9,999 people because one person survived, one person lived. It was Bob. Who survived the massacre? Using it as a noun now, the massacre. Well, Bob survived the massacre. And after he survived, Bob cried, "Oh, please don't kill me, John. I'm sorry, please." John, he relaxed. John calmed himself. He calmed down. He calmed himself. And he said, "Okay, I will give you amnesty, but only if you leave America and never come back." Did John give Bob amnesty? Yes, he did. John gave Bob amnesty. Did John forgive Bob? Yes, he did. He did. He gave John amnesty. Did John give the other people amnesty? No, he did not. He massacred them. He killed all of them. He did not give amnesty to the other people. He only gave amnesty to Bob. Did Bob ask for amnesty? Well, yes, he did. He said, "Please don't kill me," right? "Please don't kill me. Please forgive me." He asked for amnesty. Why did John give Bob amnesty? Well, he probably forgave him. He probably gave him amnesty because he was his best friend. But there was one condition, one thing he had to do to get amnesty. Bob had to leave America and never come back. Bob said, "Okay, I'll go now. Thank you." This time, his words were not at odds with his actions. He left America and never came back. This time, did Bob's words, his promise, and his actions, did they agree? Were they the same? Well, yes, this time they were the same. This time, his words were not at odds with his actions. Were his words at odds with his actions? No, they were not at odds with his actions this time. This time, they agreed. This time, his actions and his words were the same. Okay then, very nice. Now, one more time, I'm going to just say key phrases, and please repeat the key phrases after me. Don't just copy the words. Copy my pronunciation. Copy my tone. Copy my emotion. Exaggerate. Copy me exactly. Here we go. John was next to a river. He was using a pan to filter the rocks. He was using a pan to filter the rocks. Good. He hoped to find gold, and he did find gold. After he found gold, he ran to town and told Bob, his best friend, about the incident. He told Bob, his best friend, about the incident. He told Bob, his best friend, about the incident. Good. He said, "Bob, don't tell anyone. I need to censor this information." He said, "I need to censor this information." He said, "I need to censor this information." Good. He said, "I need to censor this information so no one steals my gold by the river." Bob smiled and said, "Okay, I won't tell anyone." But his words were at odds with his actions. But his words were at odds with his actions. But his words were at odds with his actions. Good. But his words were at odds with his actions. because he soon told everybody about John's gold. So when John returned to his river spot, he found 10,000 people there. They were all filtering the river looking for gold. They were all filtering the river looking for gold. They were all filtering the river looking for gold. Good. John went crazy and attacked them. He was so angry, he massacred everyone. He was so angry, he massacred everyone. He was so angry, he massacred everyone. Only one person lived. It was Bob. Bob cried and said, "Please don't kill me, I'm sorry." John calmed himself and said, "Okay, I will give you amnesty." John said, "Okay, I will give you amnesty." John said, "Okay, I will give you amnesty. But you can never come back to America." Bob said, "Okay, I'll go now." This time his words were not at odds with his actions. This time his words were not at odds with his actions. This time his words were not at odds with his actions. Okay, very good. Now please, this time, pause your MP3 player, pause your iPod, and try to tell the story yourself. All of the story. Try to tell all of the story. You don't need to remember every word. Tell the general story, but try to remember some of the new vocabulary. To filter, the incident, to censor, at odds with, filtering, massacred, amnesty, at odds with. Try to use these vocabulary phrases, these vocabulary words, when you retell the story. So please pause now and tell the story yourself. Say it out loud so you can hear it. Tell the story again. If you forget, if you can't remember, it's okay. Just listen to it again. And please review this every day. Listen to this story one time every day for a few months, maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 months. If you review every day, the words, the phrases, the grammar will become automatic. But you must do it many times, many days, over a long period of time. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, welcome to the commentary for the Microsoft Cyber Censorship article. Of course, Microsoft, in fact, is not the only company that is censoring, especially in China. Yahoo has also been helping the Chinese government, and I believe Google is also censoring their search results in China. So it's a big problem. One of the reasons I included this article, and I want to start including more articles on more topics, and I want to focus on topics that are not just average topics. I guess with Effortless English, I've thought a lot about the purpose of Effortless English. Of course, purpose number one is to help people learn English in an enjoyable way. Enjoy learning English, reading articles that are not from textbooks, and listening to articles and listening to lessons that are not based on textbooks, because I think textbooks are just horrible. And as a student, I think they're horrible, learning Spanish. And as a teacher, I think they're terrible too. So I don't like textbooks. I also don't like grammar study, grammar analysis. I think you should use a grammar book the same way you use a dictionary. And so if you have a question about grammar, you find some grammar in an article, you don't understand it. So yeah, you look in the grammar book, you find what it means, you find what it is, then you understand it. Okay, put the grammar book away. But unfortunately, most schools and a lot of students use the grammar book like some kind of Bible. And they almost try to memorize it, and they focus so much on the grammar book. And that actually hurts your speaking ability. It hurts your English ability. It is not a good thing to do. So use the grammar book just like you use the dictionary as a reference, something to refer to look at, and then you put it away. That's all you need to do with the grammar book. I'm not saying grammar is totally bad. I'm just saying use it correctly. Use the grammar book correctly. So anyway, the point is that Effortless English, I wanted to do it as a club, as a community, and that had some deeper meaning, not only just learning English. Of course, that's our main goal. But I also wanted to do something kind of like what some companies like The Body Shop tried to do. Ben & Jerry's for a while tried to do this. There's some companies that also had other goals, not just their primary goal, their main goal of selling something or making something, but also they had deeper values, deeper principles. And I guess I'm kind of a liberal, progressive person, and I wanted to include that in Effortless English also. And so this article is my first attempt to do that, and that is to include human rights information, human rights articles. And I'm going to try to do this more often. Human rights are important to me. By human rights, I mean, the rights of all human beings to have free speech, to not be killed by their governments just because they disagree with the government. Anyway, that basically the rights that you find in the Constitution, the U.S., United States Constitution, which we call the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights guarantee freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. That means, you can get together with other people without worrying about the government arresting you, or you can protest against the government if you want to. There's a long list of them. And the UN also has a similar list of human rights. And of course, most governments have this kind of list. They have these human rights. Almost every government in the world says, yes, we respect human rights. And, the Chinese government certainly does. The American government does. They all do it. But the problem is, of course, they don't really follow these rights. They don't really respect them. And I'm not bullying China. America has problems too. I think I'd like to include a article about Guantanamo soon, about this prison America has in Cuba, where we're putting all these people without lawyers, without any kind of human rights at all, and we're putting them there forever, possibly forever. I mean, these people have no chance to go to a regular court, to have lawyers. Many of them are innocent. Many who have been released. It's found out they were innocent. They did nothing wrong. So anyway, this is an important issue for me in the world. In America, it's important. In all the world. So I want to start including more information, more articles about human rights. It's something that I would like Effortless English to stand for a little bit. A value that we would have here. Another value I think would be that it's important to me would be the environment, especially issues like global warming. This again, it's an issue that affects all of us everywhere in the world. And I would like to start including some articles, some information about that, some lessons about that. I would especially love to see some discussions, some forum discussions about these topics, where we could introduce more information to each other and discuss these topics. Because I think it's important, if we're learning English, why are most people learning English on this site? I think it's because English is an international language. Right now, at least, it's probably the main international language. English is the easiest way to communicate with people from many different countries. If you want to talk to someone in Japan, and you want to talk to an African person, and you want to talk to a European person, and you want to talk to someone in another Asian country, and you want to talk to someone in Latin America, well, English is the language that we all have decided we will use if we get together in an international group, in science, in education, in government. So, for that reason, right now, it's an international language. English does not belong to America. English does not belong to England. In fact, English belongs to the whole world now. And so I think we should focus a little bit on these global issues, these issues that affect all of us. The idea of respecting human life everywhere, in every country, human rights all over the world, and the idea of protecting the planet, the environment, about learning more about global warming and what we can do about it. These are international issues, and I think that because English is an international language right now, and because this club certainly is international, we have people from every continent, except Antarctica, I think. So I want to start focusing on some of those things and start focusing on some values, some principles, other than just language learning. Language learning is great, but why are we learning language? We're learning it to communicate. We're learning it to build an international community. That's what I think about when I work on Effortless English. I want to make our club into a community, an international community where we respect each other, where we learn from each other, and where we promote things like human rights for all people everywhere. So anyway, that's the reason I included this first article about Microsoft censoring in China. China is just one example. These kind of things are happening in lots of countries. Burma has a large problem. Here in America, we have many problems, and I'm happy to write about those as well. In fact, I'm very happy to write about those. Another reason I thought about this article was interesting is because the issue of cyber censorship, censorship on the internet. Because again, we are an internet club, right? We're an internet-based club. We're learning English on the internet. We're communicating with each other on the internet. And so I think this issue is very important to us because if companies like Microsoft start censoring content on the internet, we all suffer. It affects all of us. This first guy they censored, this Chinese guy, he was writing in Beijing, but his blog was hosted on servers, on computers in the United States, and they were removed. So not only was this guy, what's his name? Michael Anti or Zhao Jing. He was censored not only in China, he was censored all over the world. Readers everywhere could not read his blog. And so that's a very serious issue, I think. So it's important for us to be informed about these things and put some pressure so that we can continue to talk about any issue we want here at Effortless English, in your email, in your personal blogs, on your own websites, from the news you get on the internet. It's important, I think, that we keep that information open and that we're aware when companies like Microsoft try to limit that information. So that's it's an important issue, I think, as well. So those are a couple of reasons why I think this global censorship idea, internet censorship, it's a very important idea that we should focus on